The observation deck of Station Kepler 9 hummed with the perpetual thrum of life support systems, a metallic lullaby that Jennifer had grown accustomed to over her 3-year assignment. She stood before the panoramic viewport, watching distant stars paint stories across the void, when the proximity alarm chimed softly at her workstation. "Another debris field?" she muttered, pulling up the scanner display. But the readings were biological, living and small. Jack's voice crackled through her comm unit before she could report it. "Jen, you seeing this? 2 life signs, Sector 7, outer hull near the cargo bay." "On it," Jennifer replied, already moving toward the emergency airlock. Jack met her there within minutes, his engineering toolkit slung over his broad shoulders, concern etched across his weathered face. "Could be Vaxillian traders," Jack suggested as they suited up. "They sometimes abandon stowaways if they're caught." Jennifer shook her head, studying the bio readings on her wrist display. "Too small. These signatures read as juveniles, maybe 20-25 pounds each." The airlock cycled open, and they stepped into the service tunnel that ran along the station's outer ring. Emergency lighting cast everything in shades of amber and shadow. Jennifer's helmet lamp swept across the corridor until it caught 2 pairs of eyes, luminous, golden, and terrified. "Mother of stars," Jack breathed. They weren't Vaxillian. They were Korvathi cubs, a species humanity had only encountered twice before and never this far from their homeworlds. The cubs huddled together in a maintenance alcove, their silvery blue fur matted and dirty, their large ears pressed flat against their skulls in fear. One was slightly larger than the other, positioning itself protectively in front of its smaller companion. Jennifer slowly lowered herself to a crouch, making herself smaller, less threatening. The cubs trembled but didn't flee. There was nowhere for them to go. "It's okay," she whispered, knowing they couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone would translate. "We're not going to hurt you." Jack ran a scan from a safe distance. No adults within range. No ships in the sector either. How did they even get here? Jennifer noticed the smaller cub's labored breathing, the way it leaned heavily against its sibling. "This one's injured or sick. We need to get them inside." The larger cub growled, a pitiful squeaking sound that would have been adorable if it wasn't so desperately frightened. Jennifer slowly removed her helmet, letting the cubs see her face, her expression. In her experience, most species responded to facial cues even across evolutionary divides. "I'm Jennifer," she said softly, pointing to herself. Then she gestured to Jack. "He's Jack, we want to help." She carefully unsealed a protein bar from her suit's emergency supplies and broke off a piece, placing it on the floor between them. The larger cub's nose twitched. Hunger warred with caution in its golden eyes. It took 20 minutes of patience, of slow movements and soft words before the larger cub finally crept forward and snatched the food. 5 minutes more before it allowed Jennifer close enough to touch. Its fur was incredibly soft, like silk mixed with down feathers. The smaller cub whimpered and Jennifer's heart clenched. Without thinking, she shrugged out of her coat, the thick thermal-lined jacket that had been her father's that she wore on every shift for comfort, and wrapped it gently around the sick cub. Jack helped her carry both cubs back through the airlock. They didn't struggle. Perhaps they understood on some instinctual level that these strange 2-legged beings meant them no harm. In the medical bay, Jennifer worked through the night while Jack researched Korvathi physiology in the station's databases. The smaller cub had a respiratory infection, easily treatable once they'd synthesized the right medication. The larger one was simply exhausted and malnourished. As Jennifer administered medicine and fluids, the cubs began to explore. Their natural curiosity overcame their fear, and they investigated every corner of the med bay with wide-eyed wonder. They batted at floating styluses, chirped at their reflections in polished surfaces, and tumbled over each other in play that spoke of resilience and hope. Jack assembled a makeshift den in the corner using supply crates and blankets. Their ship probably malfunctioned, he theorized, watching the cubs play. Emergency escape pod, maybe. They could have been drifting for days. "We'll find their family," Jennifer promised, though she wasn't sure if she was speaking to Jack or to herself. Dawn came to Station Kepler 9 in the form of shift change alerts and brightening corridor lights. The cubs, exhausted from their night of exploration and healing, had finally settled down. They'd chosen their sleeping spot carefully, not in the den Jack had built, but on Jennifer's chair, curled together beneath her father's coat. Jennifer stood in the doorway, watching them sleep. Their breathing was even now, their small bodies rising and falling in peaceful synchronicity. The larger cub's paw rested protectively on its sibling, even in sleep. "You know we'll have to report this," Jack said quietly beside her. "Galactic Council, Cravati authorities. They'll want them back." "I know," Jennifer replied. "But until then, they're safe. That's what matters." Jack smiled, putting a hand on her shoulder. "Humanity's specialty, right? Finding the lost ones and bringing them home." Jennifer thought about that, about what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of countless species, each with their own strengths and wonders. Maybe humanity's gift wasn't superior technology or military might. Maybe it was simply this: the instinct to help, to shelter, to care for those who couldn't care for themselves. As the station began its daily cycle, and the stars wheeled silently beyond the viewports, two small cubs slept peacefully beneath a human woman's coat, safe at last after their long night of fear and wandering. And Jennifer stood watch over them, as humans had always stood watch over the vulnerable, since the ancient days when their ancestors first looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them.